Peace. So I want to talk, it's your brother. I want to talk about integration. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I'm choosing integration is because as I examine that situation, I realized that we were better off being integrated. You understand? And integration, we were better off being segregated. And integration was one of the worst things that ever happened to us. Integration to me was a tool, it was a weapon, a psychological weapon and a tool of warfare, which was utilized to basically break us out of our self-autonomy, to break us out of our own communal upliftments and benefits that we were definitely benefiting from out of segregation. We had our own cities, we had our own banks, we had our own schools, you know what I'm saying? We had our own businesses, lawyers, we was doing it. And the problem was for the European is that the European couldn't survive without its slave. You understand what I'm saying? The European couldn't function properly in society without us, because remember, the technology was us. Slavery was controlled and ran by the slave. The slave did all of the work. The European didn't do no work. He just sat and watched around. So his technological skills was very, very none to nil. And then on top of it, a lot of the inventions that was developed was around that time period, around the 19th century, during those time periods of slavery and so on and so forth. So integration, you know what I'm saying, was the worst thing that happened to us, because after the Emancipation Proclamation, you know what I'm saying, and the slaves, just became free slaves, and they were segregated and they did their own thing, they began to build their own communities. And right out of the Emancipation Proclamation, the Republican Party was formed, and it was all quote unquote so-called black folks, Asiatic men. You know what I'm saying? The Republican Party was formed by us. You understand what I mean? And today, you're on the other side of the fence. You're on the other side of the same people who forced integration on you. You understand what I'm saying? And forced, W.E.B. Du Bois and Martin Luther King and all of those dudes who was financed by the Rothschilds and so on and so forth, and to push the ideal of integration, to remove our self-autonomy, you know what I'm saying, and to take our wealth and our riches. See, we have land and all of that prior to that. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that integration killed our self-autonomy. Integration created a codependency later on them. See, integration allowed and created welfare. But see, if we wasn't integrated, if we didn't fall for that integration stuff, we would have never seen welfare. And when you say welfare, that's actually the word farewell, spells backwards. Welfare, farewell. So you know what I'm saying? It's all psychological science that they're utilizing. This is warfare. So we had our own cities. We had more than one Black Wall Street, right? We had numerous Black Wall Streets. If you go back and study, you understand what I'm saying, and look at all of the race riots and the quote unquote racial massacres and the race riots that occurred between the 1800s and the early 1900s in America, from the behest of quote unquote Caucasians attacking us in our homes, in our communities, in our different cities, you know what I'm saying, because of the wealth that was there. Because of the wealth that we had attained by buying and spending and building amongst each other. There was a lesson to be learned in the science of segregation. And I'm all for segregation, because you know what? In the society right now that we living in, we're constantly segregated. We're still segregated right now. We practice segregation right now. You got a ghetto, and you got an area for the wealth and so on and so forth. And not only is it we practicing segregation, but we also practice classism. You understand what I'm saying? And it's bigger than racism now, but it's classism too. You understand what I mean? So there's a bunch of isms that's being practiced, you understand, and being utilized against us. See, we are the commodity for this society. We are the commodity for America. The Asiatic people, quote unquote, the Moorish Americans or the Moors or whatever, we have created the culture of this country. You know what I'm saying? Our dance, our music, everything is the foundation of this country. They have used our plight, our trauma, you know what I'm saying, and everything about us, and they have built a whole paradigm around us. Not for us, not about us, but against us. You understand what I'm saying? And they've used us to enforce those rules against us. This is what the science was behind the boule, you know what I'm saying, or what they call the talented 10th. You understand? Or what they would call the black bourgeoisie. You know what I'm saying? W.E.B. Du Bois, who was a staunch opponent and enemy of Garvey, along with A. Philip Randolph and others who went against Garvey when Garvey was talking about going back to Africa and so on and so forth, and waking up the hearts and minds of the people, stirring up the hearts and the minds of the people. It was W.E.B. Du Bois and Philip A. Randolph that was calling him a little black monkey from Jamaica. and telling him to go back to where he came from, and so on and so forth. So these are the things, and some of the things that we must take a look at when we're trying to understand why we're in the position we're in. We're in a position that we're in is because people who look like you helped us, helped our historical enemy and oppressor to oppress us further. And in the process of oppressing us, there's something that they gained from helping them oppress us. You know what I'm saying? But Martin Luther King gained death. Why? Because he recognized later on that he was a tool. And he knew what he was doing was wrong from onset. You understand what I'm saying? But he was in too deep. When he recognized it, he went and came out and spoke against it, and they murked him. You understand what I'm saying? But Malcolm, same thing. Anybody who speaks up against a system, death is inevitable for them. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what scares a lot of our brothers and sisters from telling the truth. But death is no enemy to man. You understand what I'm saying? It's no enemy, especially when you're doing the right thing, especially when you are telling the truth, when you are exposing the devil and so on and so forth. Death is no enemy. It's freedom. You understand what I'm saying? It's going to get you out of this imminent prison called a body anyway. You fell on the crucifixion when you fell into a body. You fell on the cross when you fell right into a body. You understand what I'm saying? So this body is used for trials and tribulations. That's what it's used for. You know what I'm saying? It's having an experience. You understand? So this body is used for trials and tribulations, but the spirit of man overcomes all adversities. You understand what I mean? And if we become shaheed, or you become a martyr for the truth, then so be it. I'm not saying that you go out and jump in front of a bullet, but what I'm saying is never allow yourself to be in front of a falsehood and let that falsehood live in front of you. Always strike that falsehood down. Always fight against that falsehood every chance you get. Always tell the truth against the lie. And sometimes you don't have to talk. Sometimes your demonstration can be that truth. You being exactly what you know you are, the truth. No guessing involved, just being that truth. You see what I mean? And walking in that particular paradigm, in that particular light. So integration was the worst thing that happened to us. Segregation is the greatest thing that we could do. We need to separate ourselves again and continue and build up what we need to build up. Because segregation is going to aid and abet us. It's not going to harm us. Because they've already segregated us and they're already excluding us. They kill us after they're done with us. You know what I'm saying? So why do we continue to give them the opportunity to kill us when we can actually build and grow for our own selves? And you got everybody in other nations coming into your community and they eating off your bones, and you're not building anything in your own community. You got the Jews, you got the Arabs, you got the Chinese, you got the Hindus. They come in and they open up stores in your community and you're not doing anything. They're getting wealthy off your community. You know what I'm saying? Very, very rich. I've watched on the south side. It's a store right on Midland Ave. It's been there since I've been a child. I'm 51 years old now, and now it's the third generation working in that little corner store. That little corner store. You know what I'm saying? With a little apartment on top of it, and it's just a little corner store that anybody can get. But it's been there for over 40-something years, and the grandkids now are driving BMWs and so on and so forth. So they're getting wealthy. They're building off of your money. You know what I'm saying? These are the impoverished zones. We're sitting in what they call the poverty zones. Syracuse has 30 poverty zones, and in these poverty zones, you got stores on every corner. You got little stores on every corner, and every store on every corner gets an exchange of a rate of at least 75% of that neighborhood comes to that store every day. You'll see a person 3 to 4 times a day in that same store. One person coming in at different times of the day going. So they're getting a high turnover rate. You can have that same high turnover rate in your community if you open up a store too. You understand what I'm saying? And people may not come to you at first, but they will, because that's why it's there. You understand? That's why the store is there, because there's wealth in our communities, but we spend our wealth elsewhere. This is why segregation made us who we were, because in our communities with segregation, we bought and spent amongst each other. This is why we had numerous black Wall Streets, quote unquote, black Wall Streets in different locations. So I want you to understand and listen to what I'm saying to you. Segregation is the key. Separation is the key. Let's separate, man. Let's segregate, separate, and let's get our shit together. Peace.